Who are these guys?
Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader.
No. It's Julius Caesar and Pompeii. It brings back such childhood memories. That was a good show. Those are some good shows, okay? And the reason is the plot of Star Wars, if you don't just dwell on the lightsabers and the ships shooting each other and the bad emperor and stuff like that, there's a lot of plot there. And a lot of the plot mirrors exactly what was going on in the Roman Republic and Empire. The Republic Senate, the Galactic Senate, the Roman Empire. So they actually have a picture of that. I was amazed that they have a picture back there of the Roman Senate. Okay? Roman legions. Okay? Who are these?
Clone troopers.
Stormtroopers. They were the clone army before. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? Very much mirror of the Roman Empire, Republic. Who are these guys?
Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader.
No. It's Julius Caesar and Pompeii. Of course. Or maybe it's Octavian and Antony. It's hard to tell. They wouldn't zoom in on their faces. Maybe Octavian and Antony. Okay? This is the first meeting of the triumvirate, the second triumvirate. This is a very sad time for me, by the way. Anybody else just really bummed out at this scene because Qui-Gon Jinn got killed? Oh man, that was bad. Octavian, first emperor, very Republican kind of guy up front, but he was conniving behind the scenes and became the emperor and really pretty much controlled everything. Emperor Palpatine, pretty good guy up front, good old Senator Palpatine, and then became Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, just like in the Roman Empire. Okay, so let's talk about some of the details of that. All right, the nomenclature between the two is very similar. Okay. In Star Wars, you have Senate, Republic, Empire, same thing for the Roman Empire, or the Romans, okay? Chancellor, Senator, Triumvirate. You think of a triumvirate, Palpatine, Darth Vader, Dooku. Same kind of storyline going on there between the Star Wars universe and the Roman universe, okay? The Senate. Star Wars had a Senate, the Galactic Republic, and the Romans had a Senate. They represent diverse regions or planets. The senators debated and wielded significant authority, became increasingly corrupt and ineffective in both universes. The Roman Senate became a ceremonial body. The Galactic Senate was dissolved, and the Galactic Senate was unable to address the crisis of the Trade Federation's blockade. Remember that story of Naboo? They blockaded Naboo. Okay? I like saying that, Naboo. Military power and expansion. The Roman Republic had legions. The Galactic Republic had the clone army. Both were very loyal to their senates. Okay? Both militaries were central to their politics and a tool for later takeover of the government. The Roman Republican citizen soldiers evolved into professional legions loyal to the individual generals. The Galactic Republic relied on the Jedi and later the clone army. Because remember Order 66? They killed all the Jedi. The clone army turned on their Jedis and killed them all. That was a very sad time too. Really some deep plot stories here. Okay, Marius's reforms professionalized the Roman military, making soldiers loyal to their generals, leading to armies being used for political ends, just like in the Star Wars universe. The clone army, initially for the Republic, was reprogrammed to serve under Order 66 after killing almost all the Jedi Knights. The Stormtroopers, who were the clone army, like the Praetorian Guard, were fiercely loyal to their respective emperors. We see a lot of civil wars and strife going on. Caesar versus Pompey, big civil war in the Roman government. Octavian versus Antony, or more specifically, Egypt and Cleopatra. These civil wars weakened the Roman Republic. There were clone wars, separatist conflicts, and clone wars destabilized the government and Star Wars. Later, the Galactic Civil Wars between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. We see the rise of the emperor and dictator between the two. Julius Caesar amassed enormous power and was declared dictator for life. Octavian became the first emperor, keeping the Republic in form, but holding all the real power, just like Emperor Palpatine did. He was working behind the scenes. He orchestrated the trade blockation of Naboo, the Trade Federation blockade of Naboo. Deep plot things going on there, all taken from the Roman Empire stuff that was really happening. Kind of cool. Palpatine was granted emerging powers as chancellor, then transformed the Republic into an empire, maintaining the Senate in name, but ruling as emperor. Okay? Both republics used distinctive symbols and emblems to represent their unity and authority. The Jedi's robes resembled Roman togas. Roman society was very famous for gladiatorial games. We'll talk about that in chapter 15. We'll talk about the different kinds of gladiators and how they fought each other. Much like the battle in Attack of the Clones. Remember the animals that came out and tried to eat them up? That was pretty cool. Both republics came bogged down by corruption, bureaucracy, and self-interest among their elites. Leaders in both republics exploited crisis to amass power legally. Caesar, Augustus, and Palpatine threw their sentence, showing how institutions can be subverted from within. The Romans got rid of opponents through proscription. Order 66 got rid of the Jedi. Okay. Manipulation of public opinion. Julius Caesar and Octavian were very charismatic, very successful militarily, and they used political maneuvering to gain power. Palpatine posed as a benevolent chancellor, orchestrating stuff behind the scenes. Symbols of power. The Roman Empire used architecture like the Colosseum and titles like Imperator to show their power, and of course the legions. The Galactic Empire used massive displays of power like Star Destroyers, Death Stars to instill fear, just like the Roman Empire did. The Romans had revolts. The Jewish Revolt of 86, we spent a lot of time on that, 66 to 73 AD. The Galactic Empire faced a revolt during the Rebel Alliance, okay? Remember Princess Leia starting kind of the revolt. Key figures, Octavian and Palpatine, both are master manipulators who transform each republic into an empire while maintaining a facade of legitimacy. Julius Caesar and Anakin Skywalker, very talented figures who had character flaws and which led to their downfall and their respective republics' collapses. The Praetorian Guard and the Jedi, very similar. Both were loyal to the state, but failed to prevent their fall. Both conversions, the Roman Empire, Roman Republic Empire, and the Galactic Republic Empire were gradual. They were not an overnight coup like you see a lot of things today. Okay, we see a lot of Star Wars is kind of my favorite because of the plot, the depth of the plot. But we see it coming into Star Trek and the Romans also. Okay, Romulus and Remus, very important in Star Trek, were twin planets that revolved within the same star, but they were the founders of Rome, the reputed founders of Rome. Okay, the guy who wrote the first episode about the Romulans said that's an extension of the Roman civilization to the point of space travel. Vulcan was the Roman god of fire. Many planet names from Roman mythology. We see bread and circuses came, what Earth might have been like if the Roman Empire had continued. Mirror, mirror, similar things. The Klingons seem to mimic the famous Spartans in military society. Jean-Luc Picard, as Captain Enterprise, is chided by his father. He said, "You're like a Roman centurion off patrolling the provinces, the maintenance of a dull and bloated empire." James Tiberius Kirk, named after the Emperor Tiberius, the second Emperor of Rome. And Klingon rituals, duels to prove honor and reverence to warriors, parallel Roman rituals like in gladiators. Probably the most poignant moment in Star Trek was in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, when Kirk and Spock were speaking to each other. Remember that story? When Spock was dying, he was flooded with radiation, he was dying, and he said, "Don't grieve, Admiral," in a very scratchy, dying kind of voice. It's logical. The needs of the many, and his voice cracked, and Kirk said, outweigh the needs of the few. And Spock, in his crackling voice right before he died, said, or the one. Pretty powerful moment. I was down for about a minute, and I said, he'll be back next time. It's science fiction, right? He'll be okay. It's always okay. The main characters are always okay. But that traces back to Marcus Aurelius, the 7th emperor of Rome. He said, it is far more just to perish one for all than many for one. We talked about that last week or week before, remember? Vitellius was on the march to Rome, and Vitellius conquered some of Otho's regions outside Rome in northern Italy. And Otho, he wasn't defeated by any stretch. He had plenty of men at his disposal, but he said, it is better to perish one for many than many for one. And I ranked him high on the impometer. He wasn't there very long, so I don't know what kind of emperor he really would have been, but just that one thing right there ranked him high on the impometer. Okay, so that wraps up our Star Trek, Star Wars, comparisons to the Roman Empire, Republic. Next week, we'll talk about part 2 in my book, Lifestyle. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So starting next week, you never know what you're going to get. We'll talk about money. We'll talk about writings of the period. We'll talk about a lot of different things like that. Thank y'all. See you next week. The box of chocolates next week. It's going to be good, unless you get one of those coconut ones. And then they're bad.